The following video was recorded on location in my state-of-the-art office in the corner of my first floor apartment. If you like what you're about to hear, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell in the upper right corner. Hi, how's it going?
It's going very well. How about you, Josh?
I'm doing great. Thank you so very much for taking the time to do this interview.
It's a great pleasure. Hey, this is Hansi Kursch from Guardian speaking.
It's a tremendous honor for me to be able to talk to you as one of my favorite frontmen of all time, and having the opportunity to have seen Blind Guardian 3 times. It's great that I'm able to help promote the brand new live album from Blind Guardian, showcasing everything that you guys did in Europe in 2015.
Right. I'm happy to hear that.
Oh yes, and I still remember the first time so very well that I saw you, because I was about 6 inches away from you at the Caboose in Minneapolis, Minnesota for I think it was 2010, I believe, in the winter, and you were feeling under the weather, I think I got sick like a day or two after you. I think I got the same kind of cold that you got, but it was so worth it to be able to see you right in front of me, being able to sing some of my favorite songs.
Yeah, but I was hardly able to sing anything, so... but I remember the day because it was such a weird place, and was such weird circumstance, because I was more sleeping on the whole tour than anything else. I just woke up for the shows and was taken over from a hotel or so. A good amount of these shows, Andre and I did by plane, because I was not able to stay in the bus any longer. And Andre supported me, by, just being my babysitter on the flights and wherever we went. But it was still a very impressive and a very enjoyable tour, because the people attending, they were so massive. They were so excited. I really loved that tour.
Oh yes, and having the pleasure to have seen you a couple times since then. Two of those times being last year at Mill City Nights in Minneapolis, and Prog Power last year in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, showcasing everything that you guys have done, and just between those three shows, I mean, you guys cover so much different ground when you play live, and it's great to see that you guys pick such a great amount of songs that you are able to play live, rather than just like sticking to songs that you need to play. I mean, there's so many songs that you do throw in there that people wouldn't expect.
I think so too. I'm sometimes just surprised that people are still complaining, because we are one of these rare bands, who go on tour and have a catalog of, let's say, at least 40 songs right at hand, to be performed. And obviously the other 40, which might have been good choices as well, we would not be able to play that easy. We would have to rehearse them as well. But we like the diversity ourselves. There need to be a certain certainty within a live show for the band to come in, to get into the mood to play with a certain routine. But at other spots, we at least really need these moments where something unexpected comes in, and we try to keep ourselves busy with it, and arrange a show which makes everyone happy, not only the fans but also the performers on stage, because some of the guys on stage would be really, really, really depressed after a while if they had to play the same 17 or 18 shows every night. And plus, we also realized that some songs work better in some regions of this world, and some songs do work better in other regions.
In speaking of that, is there any songs that stick out to you, like in one particular region you're surprised how well it goes over as compared to something else, or vice versa?
First thing coming into my mind is a bizarre experience we have had in Chile this time. We had a bunch of good songs on the playlist, and we are very used to, people demanding majesty at the one or the other show. It happens quite often, because we do not have that one continuously in our set list. And when people get the idea, they might not play it today, they start crying for that one. So we're very used to that. And, that's more or less a worldwide phenomena, even though it's a great song, so nothing wrong with it. But when we played Chile last time, they, at a certain point, started really heavily crying for Run for the Night, which is a song from Battalions of Fear. And no one in the band has been prepared, so we were not able to play that song, and it has never, ever been required by anyone. So this seems to be a very particular song for Chile. Then, of course, when we go to Australia, on the other hand, we should know that, but we never prepared that song, so we could not play that either. There is a high demand for You're the Voice, which is a John Farnham cover, which we did. John Farnham obviously is an Australian idol, so people would love to hear that song, but we were never ever able to play that in Australia. No one else asked for You're the Voice, obviously. From the songs we're playing, what would be a good example? Well, we haven't played that one on the last tour either, but a song like Another Stranger Me would, work perfectly well in North America, for example. But in Southern Europe, we would get problems playing that one. People would not get into it. The same can be said about Fly. Fly is a song which, goes very well in Middle Europe and in North America. But in Southern Europe, people have mixed feelings about that song. And I'm sure there are several other songs. Like, I think Northern American fans in general are more open-minded. They appreciate a lot of new stuff. And some of the European countries, they are sometimes more traditional, and they go more for the old stuff.
So when it came to the new live release from Blind Guardian, and you had to pick out what songs were going to be able to be a part of this 3-CD compilation, how did you guys decide what songs were going to be a part of it?
Well, for us, it's very important with every live output we have made so far to scratch every era of the band, because we're extremely proud about everything we have done, and we do not want to hide anything. So this is one of the rules we have. If there is a chance to, for instance, have a song from Tales from the Twilight World, then let's put it on there. If it's Lord of the Rings, that's cool. If it's Lost in the Twilight Hall, that's also cool. It doesn't matter too much which song, but there needs to be at least one song from each album if possible. That was one criteria for us. Then, of course, the atmosphere during the shows and during the song has given us a certain hint which songs we could, use, and which would be not only interesting for the fans, but also important for us in terms of setting up the right flow of the show. That was also very important. The quality, obviously, of the performances. There were some songs which we haven't played too many times, like Blood Tears, for example. It could not withstand the quality of the other songs. So even though I'd like to have had this song on the album, we could not find a suitable recording which would have been able to compete with some of the other songs on the album or other songs from this particular album. So we went for other songs. Basically, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great to see that you were able to pick so many songs. Rather than having to feel constricted to just one CD, you were able to span it over 3 CDs and just be able to capture so much of the Blind Guardian discography in one collection.
Thanks. Yeah, to be quite honest, if we are talking about the songs which are on this particular album, we would have had like 2 or 3 other songs from other cities which also would have been worth to be released. We could have easily filled 3 or 4 live albums featuring the same songs. It was just, difficult to get some other jams. But in general, we had a great run. We played very constant every night. And of course, a good amount of songs has been played almost every night. And obviously the songs we had a, let's say, daily routine in, they obviously turn out to be stronger in every perspective. And these are the ones you hear on the album. I'm pretty sure that even the people who have not seen Blind Guardian live so far get an idea about what Blind Guardian is supposed to be live. And also, I still believe that even though we keep a lot of the patterns from the studio albums when we play a song live, the songs themselves, they reveal a slightly different beauty, which might attract people even more.
Yeah, that's definitely a great way to look at it too. I mean, it's one thing to be able to go and listen to an album, or a studio album, but when you get that live experience, or if you don't get that live experience, you get to listen to a live experience. It gives everything a new perspective. I mean, Valhalla is a great example of that. I mean, it's one thing to hear to studio version, but if you go to a Blind Guardian show and hear Valhalla, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, that's true. we sometimes overdo the end, you know. It's extended until forever, I sometimes feel. But in general, the energy of the audience is, you know, adapted. It can be blamed for that because, I mean, that you can see that the people want to have such a long extension. They live for it. And obviously, this is something we cannot do in a studio situation, on a studio recording, because you have not the excitement of the people, you know, and things are still fresh, so we're happy how we perform the songs in the studio. But once on the road, you gain a lot of experience, and a song like Valhalla, we have to take that under consideration. Is, how old is it? Almost 30 years, right? Yeah, it's almost 30 years old. So we have a lot of experience in playing that one. And a song wins, you know. Songwriting is not like painting a picture, or, you know, music in general is not like painting a picture. Music progresses, and a song like Valhalla progresses. And I believe even though the essential is still the same, it wins a little bit with each experience. Every listener and every musician on stage is, you know, going to deliver every night.
Yeah, and that's what really helps with a band such as Blind Guardian at your stature, being able to play those songs, like something like Valhalla, which has been around for 30 years now, you know, like having that live experience, having the fans getting into it that much. That way it doesn't feel like, oh, I just have to play Valhalla again, I don't want to do this. But when the crowd gets into it and you hear how much they really enjoy what they're playing, it makes it that much more fun to be able to play it live.
Most definitely, yeah. We have a certain expectation every night, you know, what the people are going to do, how they're going to sing it, and these are the moments of magic we like to capture on a live album, obviously. And I think it was well done on this one. It's been well done ever since we, you know, do live albums, and I think you can see a constant progression there. This live album is, in terms of musicianship and production and atmosphere, even more compact than what we did on Tokyo Tales on Live.
And in speaking of that, now with the live album coming out in just a couple weeks, what do you got planned next for Blind Guardian?
Oh, we're busy at the moment. The touring season is not completely finished for us. So there will be a few more shows we're going to play in Europe over the summer. But basically, we are already in songwriting mode for the next regular studio Blind Guardian album. We have accomplished 2 songs, and today Frederick has started recording these 2 finished songs drum-wise. So the production for the next regular Blind Guardian album is actually, you know, on the go right at the moment. And we're going to keep on writing songs over the summer and certainly for most of the next year. That is one leg of our activities. And the other leg would be the orchestral album. I have started doing vocal productions 4 weeks ago, and I'm making great progress. It's still a long run for both outputs, for the orchestral album and the regular Blind Guardian album. But I'm pretty convinced that in the beginning of 2019, we will be able to release that orchestral album. And if things work like they are working in the moment, we have a very good run. I'm almost convinced that we will be able to release the next regular Blind Guardian output, the successor of Beyond the Red Mirror, in 2020, in the beginning of 2020.
Oh, that would be fantastic if everything comes to fruition that way. I mean, knowing that you are finally going into the full-blown orchestral route for a full album and working on brand new Blind Guardian material, I mean, it's great to see that you guys are keeping this active after all this time.
It's fun. To make that even more insane, I've started talking to John Schaefer of Iced Earth about a possible third Demons and Wizards album, and that is all going to happen at the same time. And, there is a sort of creative source within all these people I'm working with, which makes me very optimistic. We're still hungry.
And speaking of that, I'm glad you just mentioned that about Demons and Wizards, because that was actually my first introduction into you, because I discovered Iced Earth before I discovered Blind Guardian, but right in between there, I discovered Terror Train, and I was able to hear your voice for the first time, and I just absolutely fell in love with what you did, and I was able to discover everything before that, and then into there. So I'm glad to see that there is work at least being talked about, if not currently writing for Demons and Wizards for the third album.
Oh, basically, it was more than just talking. We exchanged first ideas, and we just had to make a stop in, being creative for the moment, because John has just started a new touring route. Their album has just been released last week, and so he will be very busy for the rest of this year. While, for me, it's more the creative act, which is first priority. But we are continuing exchanging idea over the next, let's say, 8 months, and then we will see how far we can get. But once he's finished with his touring for Iced Earth, I'm pretty sure we will spend some very realistic and very valuable time together in, either finishing the songwriting of Demons and Wizards, or even, doing the whole production. That depends. Usually we're very quick once we're together. And I mean, it's just great to work with such a gifted person, which, I call a very, very close friend of mine.
Yeah, I mean, I look at you and John as personal musical heroes of mine for the style of songwriting, the lyrical content, the everything that goes into it, the musical composition. I mean, everything that you guys do live. I mean, just knowing that you two work together, you get along so very well, and you write some of my favorite music of all time. I mean, now with all of this experience since the last Demons and Wizards album, I can't wait to see what you guys have coming up next.
Yeah, you will be surprised, I'm sure. I mean, these first two outputs we've worked on, they are quite interesting. I'm really looking forward, to spend some more time in, getting deeper into the subject, because even though Iced Earth and Blind Guardian are quite similar in many ways, John and I are songwriting-wise different person, and by coincidence and pure luck, and probably by friendship, the chemistry is pretty good once we are together, and what comes out is a blend of these two bands, which you would expect, but there's something more, and I like to go for this something more.
Now, once John gets to finish up the touring cycles for Iced Earth, and of course you taking the time between Blind Guardian and making the third album, is there any chance of you guys going out and touring behind the next Demons and Wizards album?
Yeah, I would guess so. That really depends, on how fast we are with Blind Guardian, obviously, and how the schedules will be worked out. But it would be a shame not to do so. At least, being on the road for a festival season and doing some smaller club shows, for example, just in between, there should be a gap, and we are working on this gap. It would be a waste not to do so.
Well, I'm glad to see that as well. I mean, and I know you were able to do some minimal touring with Demons and Wizards, but it was great to be able to see that there was some live promotion for the early days of Demons and Wizards. But now with everything that's happened since that time, I mean, both bands have been able to put out some of the finest music that you guys have done so far. So when you guys get back together and work on the next album, I mean, I just imagine that the creative juices are just flowing, and it'll be some of your greatest work to date.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. We're just, we're doing it for the need to do so and for the fun to do so. And this is also always, a very good starting point. So we don't have to do it. There is no pressure behind us in doing so. Obviously, there can't be any pressure because the last album is, I think, 12 years old already. And as you said, we just did some minimal touring for the first album and did not even do any promo touring live touring for the second album. So I could imagine that just, the performance will be so different from what either Blind Guardian or Ice Earth is doing that this might attract a lot of people. And, I'm curious myself to figure out what we would come up with this time, because, there's a long time between our last show, which we played together, which is probably 17 years ago, 18 years. And, we have to find the right people and the right moment. But, the whole thing, once it is built up, will be, I think, very skillful.
Oh, very cool. One last topic I wanted to get to before I let you go for the day is your work on my favorite album of 2017 so far with Ayreon. It's great to see you a part of that again for The Source. How did it feel working with Arjen again?
Well, working with Arjen is an absolute privilege. He is a very straightforward songwriter, and he has a certain genius in composing music for vocalists. And usually, whenever I work on side projects or so, you can see that whatever I have to deal with, or at least in 90 to 95% of all cases, has not been composed with having my voice in mind. That is completely different if you attend an Ayreon production, because he really gives a lot of thought about, how to weave in his vocalist and, how they would fit into his story. And this is something I like a lot. A lot of what he's doing is in terms of, narration and in terms of setting up the sensation around Ayreon is pretty much like Blind Guardian, what we do with Blind Guardian. But as said, he as a songwriter and his fable for, 70s music, I like a lot. And he's a very funny guy.
Oh, yeah. I've had the pleasure to be able to talk to him a few times to be able to promote Ayreon material, and I always found him to be a very down-to-earth, relatable, and funny guy, and he always seems to pick out the right musicians, the right singers for every project that he's a part of. And with The Source, I mean, there's so many different ranges of vocal styles on there, and it's great to see that you were able to have your touch a part of that as well with such a fine collection of singers.
Yeah, I'm privileged and feel honored. There's no doubt. He's a brilliant musician, and as said, he has a very good hand in choosing the right people, and he has something in mind when he's doing an album or writing a song. And I'm sure once he gets the source of the song, he already has in mind with whom he wants to work.
Yeah, and again, it was great to see you back a part of it again. I mean, I love what you did with The Source, and it's always great to see you reaching out to all these different kind of side projects or one-off appearances. Whether it's like Heaven Shall Burn, you doing your vocals for Valhalla or Ayreon or Demons and Wizards. I mean, you got so much different range and so many different styles that you can fit so very well a part of. I mean, with as huge as Blind Guardian is, it's great to see that you're able to take the time and reach out to so many different styles.
Thanks. Yeah, but it's excitement. Every project I'm working on gives me the opportunity to express something. Sometimes I'm totally satisfied. Sometimes I'm minus satisfied, but the experience is always good. And it's for me, it's more great to see how many still innovative people are outside, and how they relate to music. Like, as you mentioned, Heaven Shall Burn, for example. I love their idea how they treated Valhalla, because you will find just a handful of really good Blind Guardian cover versions, if at all. And to me, this is the only one which, is really valuable. And that's not because I'm singing in there. They could have done the stuff without me, easily. But it is their energy and their way to treat that particular song, which keeps me amazed. And some of the guys I worked with, be it a popular band or be it someone totally unknown, it's just amazing to see how much energy and how much creativity they put into their music. And this is something I appreciate, and I love being a part of that.
Yeah, and speaking of appreciation, I just got to thank you again for taking the time to be able to do this. I've been trying so very long to be able to line up an interview with you, and I'm so thankful that I was able to get this to be able to promote everything that's going on in your world right now. Blind Guardian, Demons and Wizards, Ayreon, everything that you got going on. I mean, it's a tremendous honor to be able to talk to you, and thank you so very much for taking the time to do this. Before we wrap things up here, is there anything else that you would like to mention that I haven't brought up yet?
No, I'm totally fine. I'm just, waiting for my next cup of tea, and then it's time for the next interview. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.